Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 24th, 2017 meeting of the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. Our public announcement, please.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available on the counter in the lobby of this conference room. The Planning Commission's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning or subdivision application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the Commission may extend these times by a majority vote. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please write your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the lobby. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please sign in on that same sheet. The Planning Commission is interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available in the lobby. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct their own additional public hearings on these items.
Take a look at the agenda, just a few announcements. Item 2-2, that's subdivision case 2017 number 28. It's a one-step final plat for the Armour addition. That is being deferred for 2 weeks. A 2-week deferral on item 2-2. Then on our non-public hearing items, that's going to be the beginning of a workshop item that we've talked about in the past, and Mr. Miller will handle that regarding meeting procedures. But before we go into that workshop information, we will adjourn the Planning Commission and we will handle the Board of Zoning Appeals case at that time. And then we'll come back into the workshop session. Item number 1, we have approval of the July 6, 2017 minutes. And in terms of abstentions, I have Mr. Joe Johnson, Mr. Richardson, and Mr. Blick. All those in favor of approval of the July 6 minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0-3. Item 2-1 is, let's go through and look at those for consent items. Item 2-1 is subdivision case 2017 number 19. It's the final plat for the McCormick Acres addition. Does anyone on the commission want to hear item 2-1? Seeing none. Does anyone in the audience want to hear item 2-1, final plat for McCormick Acres addition? Seeing none, we can take that on consent. Item 2-3 is subdivision case 2017 number 30. It's a one-step final plat for the Fidelity Bank addition. Does anyone on the commission want to hear item 2-3? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wants to hear item 2-3? That's the one-step final plat for the Fidelity Bank addition. Seeing none, we can take that on consent. Item 2-4, subdivision case 2017, number 32. It's a one-step final plat for the BG Products addition. Does anyone on the commission want to hear item 2-4? Seeing none. Does anyone in the audience want to hear item 2-4? It's a one-step final plat for the BG Products addition. Okay, we have an abstention. Do we have a motion for items 2-1 and 2-3?
Second.
Motion by Mr. McKay, second by Mr. Hartman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. We have a motion for approval of item 2-4.
Moved.
Motion by Mr. Richardson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Warren. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 8-0-1 with Mr. Joe Johnson abstaining. Vacation items. Item 3-1 is vacation case 2017, number 26. It's a city vacation of a portion of a 15-foot alley generally located 140 feet south of the southeast corner of the East Central Avenue and North Terrace Drive. The address is 4515 East Central. Does anyone on the commission want to hear item 3-1? Seeing none, does anyone in the audience want to hear item 3-1, vacation case 2017, number 26? Seeing none, we can take that on consent. Do we have a motion?
Moved. Second.
I believe that was motion by Mr. Warren, and second by Mr. Hartman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Item number 4 is case number, zoning case 2017, number 26, and conditional use case 2017, number 28. It is a city zone change from single-family residential to TF3, and it includes a conditional use to allow multifamily for the construction of 5 two-family buildings. Does anyone on the commission want to hear item number 4? Seeing none, does anyone in the audience want to hear item number 4? We will hear item number 4. I believe that will be our first item, item number 4.
Thank you, Chairman Foster. David Clements, Principal Planner. This is zoning case 2017-26 and related conditional use application number 28 for the property at the southeast corner of North Florence Street and West 2nd Street North. This is an approximate 1 acre vacant site at that location. Here's an aerial photograph of the property. You can see here it is this location at the corner does have a number of trees on the site. And our comprehensive plan excerpt here indicates that the property is designated for new residential. And the community investment plan and that definition of new residential does include two-family homes. The property is also in the established central area where infill housing is encouraged with the City of Wichita infill strategy. Do have several photographs for you. This is the site from the immediate corner looking somewhat southeast. This is the site from 2nd Street looking directly south, the single-family home south of the property. This is a row of single-family homes on the north side of 2nd Street West. And this is looking west from the subject property along 2nd Street. And one final photograph of the single-family neighborhood to the south along Florence Street. Oh, and I guess I did not get my site plan in here. There was a site plan. I will just summarize that for you. It is in your packet. As I stated, the application was to rezone the subject property from SF5 single-family residential to a TF3 two-family residential. And there's a related conditional use application for a multi-family site plan. The applicant explains that the property has been owned by their family since the mid-60s and that the site was previously used as a mobile home park. And the property has been vacant since approximately 1995. The site plan that you do have in your packet was prepared for the duplex buildings. The plan indicates 2 duplex buildings on North Florence Street and 3 buildings on West 2nd Street North. Each duplex would be approximately 1,200 square feet in area with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and attached 2-car garages. The buildings would have a partial brick or stone elevation. Now, if you take a look at that site plan, it is recommended that the 3 buildings fronting on 2nd Street West be moved to a 20-foot setback. That's moving those units back just 5 feet. But we think that's important to allow some additional maneuvering and parking in the driveways of those units. And we're also recommending that a sidewalk be connected across the frontage of the subject property to connect to the sidewalk to the west to allow pedestrian connectivity west to West Street for convenience to that commercial area. The District Advisory Board, number 6, reviewed this application at their meeting of August 14th, last Monday, and they did recommend approval of the application. Staff does recommend approval of the rezoning and the conditional use application based on the findings of fact in the staff report. Be happy to answer any questions, and our applicant is present.
Questions for staff? Just a couple items, Dave. Appreciate you on that 20-foot setback. I think that's real smart. Second item is please confirm each of the units will have 2 off-street parking. That's the way I noticed when I look at their elevation view.
That is correct.
I could see on-street parking being a problem here.
Yeah, the sample elevation do show 2-car garages for each unit, and that's what was depicted in the application. And we did tie this elevation drawing to the conditions in the staff report.
I think it's great on the sidewalk connection as well on it. Final question is, did you have cause to run this by traffic? I mean, there are a lot of drives exiting on 2nd. If you've ever driven up and down there, especially after work hours on it, that can get fairly congested in there.
It is a neighborhood collector, yes, sir, it is. And no, sir, we did not ask the traffic engineer to review the plan.
Any further questions for staff? Agent or applicant, please. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Jonathan Logan. Address is 13021 West 31st Court South, Wichita, Kansas.
And are you in agreement with the staff recommendations and the conditions that they have in the report?
Yes.
Are there questions for the applicant? Yes, Mr. Blick.
So this is confirmed. It's been has been empty since 1995. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any further questions for the applicant? Any further comments you'd like to make, sir?
I don't have any.
Okay, well, we wish you well on your endeavor here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would someone from the audience like to speak on this item come forward to the podium? And please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Adam Calvin. Address is 222 North Florence. I live 2 houses down on Florence from where they want to build the duplexes here. The biggest concern I have with the duplexes going in is according to the site plan, all the water runoff from those is going to be diverted out to Florence Street, which already floods terribly to the point where I get water in my garage a couple times a year. I'm just worried about all the additional water that these duplexes will put onto Florence. And am I going to end up with water in my garage even more once these are built? So,
Are there questions for the speaker, Mr. Cowan? I think we'll have staff address your question here. Do you have any further comments you'd like to make?
and now.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir. And if staff could please assist and answer the gentleman's question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Foster. This question did come up at the DAB meeting last week, and with a zoning application such as this, a conditional use site plan is important to take a look at, and there are some preliminary drainage arrows indicated on that plan, but there has not been a precise grading plan prepared, and grading, location, the top of foundation of the duplex slabs, and grading is all a function of the building permit review. So we certainly just don't have answers as to the stormwater control on the property. There is not a requirement for detention on a project like this, like there would be for commercial. So yes, there will be some runoff from the property to Florence Street or to Second Street, depending on final grade, but it will be in a controlled manner, and in all likelihood, it will be more controlled than it is in its present unimproved condition.
Questions for Mr. Clemens? Just one quick one. Should the condition number 2 be expanded to make sure that this goes through the drainage check? It says it'll come to the director of planning, but should that just make sure and get that on the record?
Certainly.
I'd move for approval with David's addition.
Second. Let me double check if there's anybody else in the audience here. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Please come forward. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to Commission for action. We do have a motion by Mr. Joe Johnson and a second by Mr. Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. We will now adjourn the Planning Commission and convene the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I understand we can take the VZA item by consent as well. And so unless the staff have any additional information regarding this item? Okay. And we do have a question, so we will hear item number 1. That is BZA case 2017, number 35. And Ms. Richardson, if you want to go ahead and address your question.
Can we add to this design approval by the planning staff? My concern here is not with the setback but my concern is what's the carport look like when it gets done. It says it's going to be in compatible materials, but I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't want this to end up with a metal Quonset hut for a carport. And I realize that, this is not expensive property, but I think someone ought to be taking a look at what this looks like when it's done. And I would be in favor of this application if we could add that. And I'm wondering, do we have the ability to do that?
I think you could certainly add a condition that the carport should be built with materials and colors to match the existing structure, but and Mr. Haynes could maybe speak to this. He's going to remodel the building pretty substantially, and so I do know it's going to be a priority for him to have some compatibility with the
I understand
structures.
that, but beyond the materials, the actual design of it, I'd like to have the staff to take a look at that.
Yes, sir.
Materials could mean it's built out of wood, it's got a roof on it, but concern for the neighborhood. Yeah, I think this will help the neighborhood, but I'd like to make sure that this is a compatible project, so.
Well, Mr. Richardson, if you'd like, Mr. Foster, we do have the applicant here. I think he can speak to that if you think that would be helpful.
I think in terms of process procedure here, let's ask the applicant to come forward. Mr. Warren.
We did get a letter on this. There was a question about Vision Triangle. Who's going to review this for Vision Triangle to make sure that we're not creating any problems?
Oh, it's not, Mr. Warren.
Not-
No, there's no way, yes.
It's far enough back. It's not near. Would the applicant please come forward? State your name and address for the record. And you have 10 minutes, and if you'll just address some of the items we've requested.
Sure. My name is Mark Haynes. I live at 1801 North Woodrow, which is directly to the west of this property. I've lived here for 35 years, and I've looked at this property deteriorate over the years. Spoke to the owner, and he basically refused to do anything because he didn't live there. So now he passed away, so I was able to buy the property, and my intent is to remodel it to make it a single-family dwelling, to get rid of one of the multifamily dwellings in my neighborhood. I have signatures from the individuals that live next door to me and across the street from it, and they're aware of what I intend to do, and I have their support, plus the property directly to the east, which is a duplex. It's owned by a person that owns like 60 units. I have an email from him also in support of what my intentions are. And I do have drawings in regards to the structure. I don't know how to show you guys this, but I've drawn floor plans, and my intent, I've lived across the street from it, and I understand your concern for sure of making it look decent for the neighborhood, and that's my whole intent. And I don't know how to provide this to you folks, but I drew this up, and this is my intent to make it.
You want to just give it to Mr. Hartman here at the end, or Mr. Clements, and we'll pass it around.
Also, Mr. Foster, perhaps we could just put a date on this as Exhibit A and attach it to the conditions as was suggested by Mr. Richardson.
I think that's a good idea.
My intent is to convert it to a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, single-family dwelling, and with a 2-car carport, which would be roughly a 20 by 20 carport. And that's why I applied for the variance, to give me the ample room to where I can put it there on the south side of the structure. There will be roughly 22 feet from the street, which is actually my garage on my house is basically the same distance from the street. So if you could look at your site plan, you can see exactly what the setback is. And I talked to the gentleman that owned the property to the east, and he has no problem with it protruding out farther than what his structure does. So,
You comfortable that this exhibit can be added to the information submitted and to go
yes,
to
I am.
staff?
And I also have the emails and the signatures from my neighbors, if you'd like those too.
I don't know that those are critical just yet, and I'd ask staff. My understanding is we don't need that information, but please hang on to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I have a question. So the carport is open?
Yeah, I was going to make an open carport because I don't believe that I can enclose it as a garage. I don't believe that's allowable. I'm not sure, but my intent is just to put a parking place, so there would be off-street parking. Right now, there's only on-street parking available to this structure right now, so that's my intent, and it'll reduce congestion as far as cars parked on the street and all that. So,
Let me ask Mr. Daly.
So the house looks like it has the old shingles on it that could have asbestos in it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
yeah, and my plan is to re-site it, according to code and all that, and get contractors that will do everything according to code on it. So
you'll have proper removal of those and then put
yeah,
regular
I'll do whatever's
siding,
necessary
put a
to
modern siding on it.
comply. Yeah.
So by the site plan that you've drawn up, it looks like the carport is actually in line with the building and
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The
Make-
building itself is like 24 feet wide, so, my intent was not only to make it big enough for two cars.
okay, thank you.
I'm not,
Mr. Richardson.
I guess I'd like staff to weigh in on, I'm not sure you could not make it a garage. I mean, once the setback has been changed, I don't think there's any prohibition on whether or not it has to be a carport versus a garage, is there? I mean,
Okay.
yours across the street, essentially, is on 17th Street with the similar setback from 17th Street, is it
Exactly.
not? And it's a
Exactly.
garage. It's a garage, and there's
Yes, it
one.
is. Yeah.
And if you go to the east, you got a similar situation as well.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a carport there. Yeah.
The the advertisement for this hearing was for a carport, so I think if it is to be a garage, it would have to have a new hearing, new advertisement, because we've notified people that he's requesting a carport, not a garage.
I have no problem with just leaving it as a carport. And then, in the future, whoever buys it, I'm not intending to rent it. I'm just,
Yeah, I understand that.
wanting to make it for a family home in my neighborhood. I've lived there for so long. And they can enclose it into a garage at some later time if they would like. And
Just
go
wasn't
through that
aware, yeah,
process.
I just wasn't aware that when we do vacation cases, it's for a specific purpose, and that purpose is tied to the vacation case. Is that,
I mean, anytime you do an advertised public hearing and you make specific statements about the nature of the request in that advertisement, that's what you're limited to considering for a variance.
okay.
Well, this was platted in 1891, so, and I guess there was no setbacks in the plat, the way I understand, so it comes to the zoning ordinance. And that is actually called the front, which is actually, it's addressed on Woodrow, so it's actually the side street, but nevertheless, it's, my intent is just to make a carport there.
Mr. Hartman.
Have you decided on what exterior materials you're going to use on the structure?
My intent is to redo the roof and make a hip roof there will be a porch that comes off the front, a hip roof off the porch, and then the carport will have a hip roof too, and I'll probably get trusses,
So on the hip roof side that faces the street where you're coming in from the driveway, there'll be some type of siding on that above where you drive
Well,
in?
it'll just be probably headers between to support the roof structure.
Won't be
and-
enclosed up above, you don't think?
Above
Above where you drive in?
the ceiling?
Yeah,
Yeah, my intent would probably be to, put a ceiling in it. Yeah, keep the birds out for sure.
but I'm thinking on the face of the carport, on the hip side of that roof, there'll be some type of siding, won't there be?
Well, yeah, probably. It'd probably be solid siding there to cover the header. I'm sure it'll have a
And what type
substantial.
of siding are you going to put on the structure itself?
My intent right now is to put these like smart siding, something like that. I don't think I'm going to go the hardy plank, but and I believe you can cover that asbestos. I'm going to put all new windows in it, new HVAC and all that, make it a nice structure. I wish it had a basement, but it just doesn't. So.
Okay, do we have any further questions for the applicant? Ms. Richardson? Any questions?
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Let's see if we get anybody from the audience here who wants to come forward. Sir, do you have any further comments, and you're comfortable with the
Yeah,
conditions and
I'm
things?
comfortable. I think it's a reasonable request for this variance, and appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Would someone from the audience like to speak on this item come forward? And none, I'll bring it back to Commission for Action, or the Board of Zoning Appeals for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Hartman. And I'm sorry, Mr. Blick? No, thank you. And we have that addition about review of are you comfortable with what?
I'm
the drawing
okay
you
with,
saw?
yeah, I'm okay with what he's done.
Okay, then as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Do we have any further business as the Board of Zoning Appeals? Then we are adjourned as the Board of Zoning Appeals, and we will convene the Planning Commission. We need to convene. Since this is intended to be informal discussion as a workshop item, we will just adjourn the full Planning Commission and just open it up. So we stand adjourned.